Ladies and gentlemen, we gather here today to mourn on this most inauspicious occasion. A day that has been prophesied and foreshadowed for years now, but none of us truly believed it would ever come true. April 1st will forever be the day of Mario's death. Now the signs were always there, ever since 2 years ago when Bowser realized the only way to succeed in a capitalist society was to go corporate. His master plan was in the making, biding its time, plotting his moves, all for this day. Now some brave heroes, they tried to warn us. Indeed, we all laughed at every time Mario seemed to die in Smash. But little did we know that this was a warning, and we failed to heed its call. Now he has yard his last two. He has let's gone to a better place. The tears shed will likely clog every pipe in the Mushroom Kingdom, for there is no longer a plumber to plumb them. And the only question left to ask is, how could something like this have happened? We all know the cover-up story, sure, that Nintendo made a self-imposed exclusivity to try and artificially boost sales, but you have to ask yourself, would a multi-million company truly do something so mundane, driven purely out of greed in an attempt to manipulate their fanbase into purchasing their overpriced game? Of course not. Such a world would be ludicrous. Can you even imagine it? No. This was an orchestrated attempt on the mustachioed mascot's life. Devious, cold, and calculated. And at a first glance, the perpetrator seems obvious. Bowser did have the motive, the drive, and since he rose up the corporate chain, now he had the means. And yes, I 100% believe that Bowser was a key player in Mario's death. But we all know that Bowser isn't necessarily the King Koopa of subtlety. So to execute such a meticulous and long-form murder, the question has to be asked, did he have help? How deep does this warp pipe go? Now first we have to ask ourselves, who had the most to gain from Mario's untimely da-da-da-da-da-da? And the truth comes from an unlikely source. Of course we mean his brother, Luigi. We all know that Luigi has played second fiddle to Mario all of his life, and he has reveled in that player 2 slot. Within that role, he has been able to have a depth of personality that Mario could never achieve. So what might have changed? Well, recall, if you will, the stories that Luigi told in Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. These are the early signs. A man bigging up his own relevance and his own adventures to take center stage. That's right, Luigi was suffering from a disease, the epidemic that has been sweeping our nation. But not the one you might think. Luigi was suffering from a disease known as clout chasing. But until a certain event, it was subtle, under the radar, harmless even. Then came 2013, the year of Luigi. That brought a true taste of what Luigi could be if he was top dog, if he was the player one, and something changed in Luigi that year. One might say, he became dangerous. Nothing would stop Luigi's race to the top. Now this top-class journalism hasn't been able to truly decipher when the Luigi-Bowser coalition might have begun. Bowser went corporate in 2015, we know this. He rose to power in 2019, and 6 months later, the first major game to be released out of Nintendo would be Luigi's Mansion 3. Clearly, some shenanigans were already in place by then. But we can't be sure if Luigi approached Bowser before or even after he began working inside. How many were involved? Perhaps Wario, Daisy, maybe even this goes cross-franchise. The fall of Mario could mean the rise of Link, or Tom Nook, or, okay, not you. And maybe, could Peach herself have even been somewhere to blame, have some incriminating role? It's hard to tell, but for now the only thing that is for certain is that Mario's final underground level shall forever be 6 feet low.